Welcome to Careless Coder. Today we'll have a look at this thing, the RG35XXH. They are missing out on an extra X in there. Triple X. Motherfucker! So the Anbernic RG35XXH. I mean, who the fuck is running that marketing department? RGX35XXH. At least have given it a sensible name like fucking awesome super duper handheld horizontal screen retro console. At least then you know what it is. But yeah, this is a really nice little thing. It runs for around 70 euros in Europe, except when you live in the Netherlands with the import fees and the postage. You pay a little over 100, but is it worth it? Because I used to play on this thing a lot, the GPD. I have this now for 6 years, I believe. And it's also 64 gigs. And it worked fine, but now after 6 years, yeah, the buttons start to get really spongy and the D-pad wasn't great to begin with. Now the Anbernic, is it better? Is it worth your hard-earned 100 euros? So let's jump in and have a look. So let's first see what is in the box. I love this gold leaf on there. Look at that, nice and shiny. That makes me horny. Yeah. Oh, there's this little open tab. Let's pull that off. Give it a wink. Give it a wink. Wink it. Wink it. Yes. Yes. All right then. Now we can reveal the contents. Look at that. Okay, there's a nice softy plastic on there. Let's take it out. A little plastic tray. Some clean wipes and a screen protector, which I'm not going to use ever. And the instructions in Chinglish only. Oh no, look at that. It's actually in proper English too. Wow. You don't see that a lot with Chinese stuff. Yeah, the packaging is great. I give that a 9 out of 10. There is this foam core board as a screen protector. Easy to reuse, to store it in. And look at that, nice, black and shiny. It's not too big. The joysticks feel really nice. And the buttons are excellent, and that D-pad, that is brilliant. We have a USB for charging and HDMI out, that's cool. The clicky shoulder buttons. The power button here, and underneath there a reset button. Now it takes a little bit of time to actually load, because it runs a Linux operating system underneath. So give it about 20 to 30 seconds to load. And then you can press on a button. There we go. And this is the default screen. You can change these icons, and we will do that in a moment. So here I already changed the icons. These are the two emulators. These are the native emulators. Quite a list, and this performs really nice. You can actually play all the way up to the PlayStation 1 very decently. And this is one of those features that I love the most, vertical arcade. So basically they collected everything that is vertical, put it in a subgroup, and you can turn over your RG35XXH. Use your joystick. You can touch and play with your joystick and tickle the buttons, and you can play vertical shooters really properly. And this is for me the reason why you would buy this over the RG35HH Plus, which is a vertical only, and you don't have an analog joystick to fondle with. So let's see what we have here. The graphics are really nice. The screen is a 640 by 480, so your standard 4 by 3, 3 by 4, because it's tilted now, right? And yeah, I'm sorry, the camera is not really that great, this webcam.
in compensating for the exposure. But yeah, it plays really, really nice. I had a true feeling that I was playing a proper vertical shooter. Now, like I said, this is a very capable device. It can play up to the PS1. There is a PSP emulator that is a hit or miss. I would not give it a second look, but the PS1 really is properly emulated. And I usually don't like emulation, especially with these smaller handhelds. I only play games like up to the SNES with my old GDP. And the rest I would play with my mistress. But here I can actually play with a PS1 in a handheld that is no bigger than a phone. That is really quite impressive. And with the joystick, you can play with your joystick and it feels so great. Just the way that it would be with a PS. Loading here takes a little longer than I recall, but that is because this 64 gigabytes, I bought the 64 gigabytes, is a really cheap 64 gigabytes SD card. If you put a faster one in it, you may even increase your loading speed. Now, I could not recall whether I played it with the joystick or the D-pad in the past. I feel here that the D-pad really works a whole lot better. And the D-pad here is ace. It feels so close to the original Game Boy. It is really, really awesome. The GDP that I showed you before, or GPD, whatever it's called, and that D-pad was always a bit soft and squishy. This is really, really proper. And look how it renders it. And the sound is decent. It's not great, but for two down-facing speakers, it's decent. And I wouldn't have believed that I had so much fun playing a PS1 game, because that's not what I bought it for. I bought it to play the NES, the SNES, and the Mega Drive games. Just before going to bed, I would play a couple of rounds of Tetris. But yeah, now I will probably play a couple of rounds of Gran Turismo. There is this section with old Game & Watch games from the 80s. That really made me chuckle. With a nice bezel on there. I could not really figure it out very quickly how to play them. And I looked if Highway, the one that I fixed and wrote a tool assistant run for it, was on there. It isn't, but I probably will hunt it down and figure out how this works. But yeah, they look nice. You can actually play them. And this is, of course, the pinnacle of nostalgia and retro gaming.
That's fun, Cinder.
My brother and I never owned a Sega Master System. But we had a friend that had this game. And we played it a lot over there. Usually we played at our place with my brother's NES. Because the NES generally had better titles, to be honest. Even though I'm more a Sega boy than a Nintendo boy. But yeah, this really brought back a lot of memories. Now, I could recall you could drop a bomb, but I couldn't find it until I actually... Yeah, there I go. Try. Oh yeah, we need to pick something up. Hey, yeah, there we go. It's funny because it's really been 30 years more, I think, even more than 30 years that we played this game. And I still sort of knew the patterns, so that shows how much we played it. This is really fun. Now, MAME games are always a bit of a hit and miss. Some start, some don't. That also is the case in this library, although the majority I found start really, really nice. Just like this one, the 1945K, which is basically a wink to 1945 or 1943 with all sorts of lasers. It's a fun game. It's really a nice, fun shooter. And since all those MAME cabinets run basically 68,000 CPUs, it's emulated perfectly. And you will have a lot of playing fun with these. And I even added Tetris 2 Plus on there. And with MAME you always have the problem with the versions, that your MAME ROMs need to be compatible with the MAME versions. I didn't see a version, so I just put it on there and it worked. And also the RetroArch, people say those emulators are janky. I have not noticed it. I don't know what their demands are, but the RetroArch and the native emulators just run perfectly fine, both of them. And I haven't even had a situation that one game worked in RetroArch and not in the native emulators. So I don't see a use currently to actually upgrade this firmware. I know there is some open source firmware in the works, but currently that is more dodgy than this. And frankly, I don't think this is dodgy at all. If you have the 64 gig version, you have all the games. You have a lot of the games that you really want. The only thing that I missed was Tetris on the Famicom. So I put it on there, also on the Game Boy. So I just put those ROMs on there because those are the games that I really play the most. But I think I will give this a chance with playing a lot of MAME games as well, because it's really that capable and it just works out of the box. Now you can also get 128 gigs that instead of 5,000 preloaded games has 10,000 on it. I don't know why you would want it or need it, but hey, if that's your thing, go for it. I think it's easier just to download it. But yeah, look at the screen. It's beautiful. I'm just very, very happy with this. And of course, we got to play with our worm on the Sega Genesis. I really adore this game. The first time I saw the graphics, I was blown away. It just looks like a cartoon. It moves like a cartoon. It's brilliant. And every little boy loves to play with his worm, right? Look at that. It's hilarious.
So there you have it. The Anbernic, worst fucking name in the universe, is, for me personally, a winner. It's nice and small. If you compare it to the GDP, it's significantly smaller. Saves about a centimeter on either side and half a centimeter in height. So yeah, that is kind of cool. And even though the OS is a bit janky, I do adore the V arcade, the vertical arcade submenu, so that you just can hold it vertically and play your vertical shoot 'em ups or other games, of course. So that for me is really, really awesome. I don't feel inclined to update the OS. It does for me what I want to do. I want to play my Super Famicoms and the Famicoms on the road and my Mega Drive. That does it perfectly fine. So, is it worth your hard-earned €100? Well, it depends. It is a lower spec machine, but like I said, up to PS1, it just perfectly works. It comes with 64 gigs installed with 5,000 titles. If you pay an extra €17, you get a 128 gig card with 10,000 titles. It is up to you, but for me it's something that I will definitely use. Just like I use the GDP about twice every week. Just before going to bed I would play a little bit of Tetris on there, or some Metal Slug. But this is even more convenient for me. So I hope you learned something and see you in the next one.